Global servicisation, at least in its first phases, and I believe the first phases will probably run through to 2030, 2035, because that's the first impacts of globalisation and the shift from disruptive technology to transformative technologies. That's likely to play itself out in this next 20-odd year period. In that period, because of the forces of centralisation of the digital revolution, the large cities are the big winners, because the large cities have the best technologies. The large cities have the best concentrations of people who understand how to use those technologies. The large cities are the places, by and large, where the apps and that can be globally utilised are actually developed and derived, because, of course, the world is becoming urbanised. And as the world moves from 30, 40, 50% to 70, 80% urbanised, of course, the services that can be developed, thought through, and then globally exported come from cities. So it's little wonder that in the first phases of technology, centralisation occurs, and the larger cities grow, because it's the larger cities are the locations for employment. Now, the impact of that in Australia will be, and it's already occurring, a hollowing out of employment outside of the capital cities. And in particular, the big winners will be Melbourne. Melbourne and Sydney will be the very big winners, and to a lesser extent, Brisbane. The reason for that is that the big aggregations in Melbourne and Sydney already have a head start in international education. They already have a head start in tourism. They have the professional scientific services already. So, of course, these are the growth areas in the global servicisation boom that's occurring at the moment, and we're slotting into our parts of a value chain. It's not Australia becoming part of Asia, it's new global value chains that are occurring, and we're slotting internationally into those component parts. The issue that we've got is, of course, regional Australia misses out, other than a few lucky regions. And the lucky regions are, for example, the Pilbara, which has had an iron ore boom. There are some sectors and areas, Gladstone, where there's energy, LNG, but Gladstone also has a great port, which is one of Australia's great infrastructures, and so there will be some key areas that will be all right. Agriculture is, even though our production's increasing substantially, employment continues to reduce. The contribution to gross domestic product is now higher from tourism than it is from agriculture, and this is in the first stages of the tourist revolution that we've got here. So one can begin to see that there won't be any jobs in rural Australia, and with no jobs in rural Australia, what we will begin to see is many of the small towns, which have already become ghost towns, that will shift into the medium-sized towns, and what we'll see is a series of regional cities emerge, and we'll lose that fine-grained network that we've got. But the regional cities won't necessarily be huge winners. They may be population-driven, i.e. they won't have the export services that would be required to make them world-significant cities. And so what we should be trying to do is we should be trying to map our regional cities to the rest of the world. We shouldn't, for example, want Newcastle or Bendigo or Bunbury mapping into the relevant capital city. We want Newcastle to map into Tokyo. We want our regional cities to have their own export services, and the reason for that is that Australia has so many levels of amenity that we would want international talent to live either on the northern coast of New South Wales, or we might want them to be in alpine areas. And in fact, over time, we would want those areas linked up. Now, if we decide we just want to compete capital city to capital city with the rest of the world, we'll probably get one generation worth of benefit out of it, because we've got 4 of the most livable cities to start with. But I'm thinking past that, and I'm thinking about all of the amenities that we could create in a long term, plus all of the new specialisations which haven't been thought of yet. And to give you one example, in the Hunter Valley, one of the little known specialisations is in rural technology, agricultural technologies. It's just starting to come together now. And so we could see in 10 or 15 years that we would have some great centres of excellence which not only have the technologies, but they have the farms and the farmers to begin to implement, to experiment, and then to export.